Alright guys, welcome back. We're going to get started. This next game is going to be ROOTVibe versus Flash. This is another game from the MvP Invitational tournament. And we'll just get this started. It looks like fairly standard builds coming out of both players so far, of course. At this point, you'd only see an aberration if, for example, Flash was going to go for a proxy 2-racks. You would see SCVs leaving his base right now to get ready to build those barracks if they wouldn't have proxy him. Maybe some players put their barracks here, and then I've also seen them over here occasionally. But and then the most common place would just be put them in the main. It doesn't look like it's going for anything of that nature. While this game's heating up, there was a question last game about why do battlecruisers come out so late when technically they don't take any longer to get to than broodlords. And you can see broodlords at the 15 minutes, and battlecruisers you often don't see till the 40-minute mark. And that's really because people, one or two battlecruisers tend to not change the way a game is going to play out. So people usually don't rush to them like they do to broodlords. The other problem is that you can get one or two battlecruisers very fast, but with broodlords, once you have the tech, you can produce as many as you have larvae. Whereas battlecruisers, you have to have many starports to actually construct many battlecruisers, and that's a big cost investment. In Terra Mirror, you do occasionally see battlecruiser rushes, but those have to be pre-planned. And like, for example, last game, Thorazane was not doing a battlecruiser rush. He was playing a game, he fell far behind, and he was at a point where he was like, okay, I need to get battlecruisers now to make a comeback.
Been behind.
Exactly, it's the Terran equivalent of the Protoss win behind Dark Shrine. If you've already tried out Cloak Banshee. Of course, Cloak Banshee is the first wave. And then, you know, battlecruisers are going to be the second wave of those type of ideas. And Flash opening command center first. Vibe, of course, hatchery first. Interestingly enough, he is getting this gas fairly fast. So this could mean he might do something funny, or it could just mean he wants to get his speedlings out early to take some map control, maybe put some speedling harass on the Flash.
Now Flash is going to be able to identify this with his SCV. So he's going to start theorizing about what the heck is going on, and he's going to see that Vibe is going to be mining more than 100 gas. Oh, no, it looks like pulled one drone out. But, okay. Vibe, he's storing up 12 gas, just for fun.
Some players do that. They like to keep the drones on until the SCV leaves. So that could be part of the idea. He wants to, you know, wants to make Flash a little bit worried about potential Olins that could come his way. Flash, look at his positioning. He's going to try to kill the supply depot because he can't raise that depot. That's a neutral depot. Yep. So he wants to kill so he can put his own supply depots there to help wall off this bunker. You always want your bunker at the least surface area possible so that Zerglings can't surround it so easily.
Like Flash adding on a factory, adding on a second gas as well, so likely gonna go up to Banshee fairly soon, I would imagine. And then you know, we'll have to see if he can get some economic harassment done to Vibe. Well, Vibe finishing up speed hasn't made any Zerglings yet though. He managed to spend okay, he's mining gas again, going up the layer, adding on 2 additional gases. So well, let's see where he goes from. I feel like Infestors is probably the obvious choice.
It's definitely a very gas-heavy build from Vibe, already going up to 3 gases. This is in opposition to some Zergs who say like take that very fast third base. Vibe's choosing to get his tech out first and then the third base. Flash doing what's basically, at least, you know, recently I've seen Terrans mix it up a lot more. But up until a couple of weeks ago, pretty much every Terran did this Hellion Banshee opening. Sometimes with Cloak, sometimes without Cloak. But it was like the standard because you don't have to worry at all about Zergolins, and it just allows you to tell exactly what the Zerg is up to. Of course, on the other side, the reason why some Terrans are opting for new builds now is because Terrans have figured out if they play well, they don't have to worry about Zergolins anyway, because as long as the Terrans macroing well and positions their buildings with thought behind that building positioning, they really just don't have to worry at all about Olins.
And you know, Zergs have been loving those queens, so the likelihood of your Banshees actually doing anything isn't great. So you know, a lot of Terran players straying away from that. Keep Flash adding on a couple armies here, adding on his 3rd command center. So gonna go straight into mech play from here. I really, honestly, I like mech a lot.
I think mech is also Flash's natural backbone. I mean, it's weird. I think lately he's transitioned a little bit more to Marine tank, but mech is like the Brood War foundation of Terran, because Terran and Brood War you mech every game against Protoss, and then occasionally against Zerg, and every game in Terran Mirror. So more than 2/3 of the time you would see mech in Brood War, which is of course what Flash's background is in. He's the Brood War legend. You know, he's won 6 different Brood War pro titles, something that I think nobody but Nada has ever done before. So he definitely is sticking to his roots, you could say, sticking with this mech play. ROOTVibe, here comes this speedling assault.
Yep.
I think he's just poking around, seeing what he can do here. Against this many Hellions, there's nothing those speedlings can do, but he does have this Mutas follow-up, and that's the whole idea behind his tech. Right now we're at a position in the game where Vibe has sacrificed a good amount of economy. If you look at his economic tab, he's actually 10 workers behind Flash, and Flash has 3 mules. So Flash is way ahead in economy, but Vibe has got a bunch of Banings here, and he's got this group of Mutalists coming across the bottom of the map. And he has to make something happen with this, I guess, squadron of you know, units, this combination of these Banelings. They're gonna have speed upgrade and these Mutalists. And Flash has a wall, so he's gonna take some Banelings.
Doesn't have a lot of units though.
Does not have a lot of units. He got 2 Thors on the way. These Hellions cannot fight the Mutalists. The Mutalists are there to basically keep the Hellions away from the Banelings. That Banshee's actually gonna do some work because the Mutalists have not taken it out.
Oh, so many SCVs. Oh, the Banelings are about to go into those SCVs and mules. Here we go. Flash is pretty vulnerable here. The Mutas coming in as well. The Banelings trying to get those key detonations. The SCV is desperately trying to run away. And look at that. Wow, Vibe actually getting a lot of economic damage done. But look at that. Still 16 links in that production. I feel like those 16 links should have been 8 drones.
They probably should have been, and he kills a good number of SCVs. The question is it enough? Let's bring up that 19 workers killed. That brings him up. Now he has a slight worker advantage, but remember, Flash, if you go back to this production tab, is working on double upgrades. His 3rd is already done, and he has triple mules to drop. So in most situations, Zerg can produce workers much faster than their opponent because of the Queen Larva plus Hatchery mechanic. In this situation, while of course Vibe can still build them faster than Flash, Flash can still build workers very fast himself with 3 orbitals. So I think Vibe did a good job controlling attack. It was a great attack by the American Zerg, but I'm not sure if it's quite enough to stop the ultimate weapon.
Flash adding on 3 supply depots here, trying to re-secure that wall off. Meanwhile, Vibe had some links there at Flash's 3rd, saw it wasn't in progress. And behind this 5 is going to take a 3rd of his own. Meanwhile, Flash adding on a lot of Thors. He has 3 and he has 1 more in production. So really prioritizing that Thor production at this point in time. And I feel like fairly soon he's going to try to push out and take his 3rd.
He just wants to get a few more to feel safe. Plenty of speedings going down there. Vibe's 3rd has just started, but he's not massing drones. He's actually trying to switch into a different tech choice. Infestors and Roaches definitely can be very good against Thors. Infested Terran and Roach combination. You can throw Infested Terrans behind the Thors so they can't retreat. And then the Roaches can come in there and do some great damage. Or of course, Fungal Growth is great against Hellion Harass as well. Flash poking in here. Notices the time on the 3rd base. Very useful scouting information there. I love the use of Hellions instead of scanning. You know, a Terran scanning a 3rd at this point in the game is like the lazy thing to do, because 1 Hellion is so much cheaper, and it just requires a slight bit amount of forethought to go ahead and send it in. Another Hellion, I guess, trying to keep an eye on maybe Mutalist movement patterns across the top. Also trying to keep an eye on maybe if the hatchery comes down here. So, not necessarily usage of those Hellions to get some scouting information.
Vibe still prioritizing those drones at this point in time. Passing plans about halfway complete. Flash finally securing that 3rd base. Adding on more and more Thors. Now starting to mix in some tanks and Banshees. And there we go. Vibe has 6 Infestors on the way. 9 now. I would love to see him add on Burrow. I think that could have a lot of utility at this point in the game.
He does not have Burrow. Burrow definitely exceptionally useful for Infestors. That's some kind of crawl around the ground, get inside tank range. Which could be important. Notice the positioning of Flash's tanks here, making sure they're safe from Roaches, because that's the main threat, right? He has 6 stores, doesn't have to worry at all about Mutalisk or even drop play. He has some Hellions. He probably wants some more Hellions before he feels very, very safe against Zerglings, but his tank count is low, so Roaches can be a threat. But positioning him on the high ground there is a great way to neutralize that threat.
Ooh, we see Burrow and Neural Parasite being added on here for Vibe. And I feel like he has scouted that his opponent is going for this heavy Thor play. And I feel like his fourth, okay, yeah, there, his fourth is taken right now. So it's tricky when you're dealing with all these Thors. It's such a tough army to deal with. But if you can kill a lot of the Thors, it's very hard for the Terran player to reproduce those units. So, you know, one great engagement as a Zerg player against those Thors, and you can be looking at a very good game for yourself. But that being said, you know, Flash, I feel like he's doing all the right things, adding the units he needs to ensure that, you know, if he ever does have an engagement, he will come out on the favorable side. It's very important to have a good ratio of Thors, tanks, Hellions. Of course, you don't have enough units to tank those roaches while the Thors get their damage done.
Vibe looks like he wants to try to put on some pressure, but Flash has such a strong defensive setup. I don't think it's going to happen. Researching Neural Parasite, I love that choice from Vibe. Of course, he doesn't know there actually is a non-negligible tank count. But if the Terran player goes for strictly Thors, Neural Parasite can be very, very, very good to deal those. Vibe not able to get any attacks done, and now he's stuck with either trying to do a trade on the offense, which I don't think is going to work out well for him. It looks like he's going to opt for a little bit of a life, not using all the infested energy, just a little bit to cover the roaches. Is he actually going to, trying to focus the orbital down, Flash lives that though, so not a very successful attack by any means.
He's actually going to try to engage this. Roach is engaging straight up against Thors. The tanks are stitching him back. There goes the Neural Parasites, or the attempted Neural Parasites onto the Thors, but that's not going to work. Every infestor falling except 2.
Well, you know, the Neural Parasite didn't do too bad.
What was it?
He killed a lot of Thors there. Let's check out units lost there. Vibe's still behind, but we have to remember the Mutalisk died for basically nothing. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't great. The infestors are actually very expensive, so that battle still didn't go his way, but it wasn't a terrible idea. It's not a bad way to deal with Thors. You know, one other thing I've seen a lot of pro Zerg players use against Thors is actually mass banelings. It's somewhat counterintuitive, but if you run the math, if your baneling hits 3 Thors, it's actually cost efficient for you. And so if the Thors are clumped enough, you can take out 3 Thors with 20 banelings. And that's a great trade for the Zerg, or actually 21 banelings depending on upgrades. Every Zerg will take 21 banelings for 3 Thors. Of course, when his tank count's this high, it gets very, very hard to connect him, but against those mass Thor armies, that can work almost as well as Neural Parasite. Against this tank-heavy army, oh man, Roach Infestor is just a little bit tricky against mass tanks.
Yeah, Vibe is about halfway done on that Greenish Fire, so definitely going to try to start incorporating those Broodlords. And we see 11 Corruptors in production here from Vibe. Meanwhile, Blue Flame Hellions running to the 4th base of Vibe, trying to get that economic damage done. Drones so important at this point, and Vibe losing some units there for free.
Those Roaches caught the wrong memo. The main group went around the back way. Those guys tried to take the shortcut, but you know what? Shortcuts are if everyone else takes the long way around, there's probably a reason why.
Yeah, and Drone's very vulnerable right now to those Hellions. The Roach is finally returning to help his buddies out. And Vibe did show those Corruptors, so Flash was able to spot those Corruptors with those Hellions. And I feel like it's only a matter of time before Flash starts adding on a second starport and really gets that Viking count on the field.
He definitely has to worry about the Broodlords. Vikings are a great way to deal with them. The other way, looks like he's ending those 2 starports. The other way is just to try to kill the Zerg before they get too many out. So I think that was his cue to attack. He's going to see what type of damage he can do. At least get some value out of these tanks, because these tanks are of course not very good against Broodlords.
Look at this army. Flash is just has so much heading to his opponent's side of the map. There are the Broodlords there from 5 though, so that might be saving grace at this point in time. But again, Flash has 3 starports in that production tab, so we'll be able to churn out those Vikings about 7 at a time once he gets those reactors out.
Vibe trying to run down this army. He gets a little bit ahead of the Broodlords, and Flash turns around and says, if you just have ground, I will beat you, because I have this giant metal mech army.
Of course, Vibe needs those Broodlords a part of this composition to make sure he doesn't actually die, and Flash again turning around, shoving Vibe off. But Flash, you know, he's at 181 out of 162 supply. Probably going to spend the rest of that supply on Thors and Vikings, and then he should have plenty enough to deal with this Broodlord army here for Vibe. And Vibe I mean, he's only on 3 bases. He's trying to secure that base at the top left, but no, he's not doing so hot on the economic side.
Not too great. I mean, Flash is kind of running low on some of his bases as well. His SCV count isn't great, but that just means his army is even stronger. And of course, he has some extra orbitals over here, so he has plenty of mules to drop down. So his economy is still in great shape. Vibe needs to make sure you put a dent in Flash's economy, and he's got to do it quickly.
Sending the Broodlords towards this 4th base. Flash trying to get into an optimal position to engage this. Roach is coming forward as well. The tanks are not sieging up. Of course, it's dangerous to siege up your tanks against Broodlords because then you could end up doing a lot of friendly fire. But here come the Corruptors from Vibe trying to clean up the air army from Flash and actually doing a decent amount of damage here. The Thor is trying to get those key volleys off onto the Broodlords. We have 3 Vikings in production, and the tanks are just charging through the Broodlings. They don't care too much.
The Broodlings can't even get an attack in edgewise because they die instantly to this 10 count. And the Thors have been repaired by SCVs, and these Broodlords, they may fall slowly to Thors, but with this upgrade differential 2-2 to 0-0, the Thors are able to make it happen.
SCVs also repairing the Thors.
It's so important because if you think about it this way, Thors do a base damage of 6 per missile to Broodlords, right? Except Broodlords have a base 1 armor, so there's really 5 per missile. But in this case, because of the upgrade differential, it's up to 7 per missile. And then you have to remember a little bit of nice knocking out that base there by Flash. A little counterattack by Vibe. Is he going to get this planetary fortress? I think he will. Yes, he will. All right, that's done. That's a nice little victory for him, knocking out some fast economy. But this army still has to be stopped. And on to my point about the missiles. So right now they're going to be doing 7 times 4, whereas originally with equal upgrade they should be doing 5 times 4 per volley. So that's 28 damage instead of 20, which is a pretty big damage gap caused by that upgrade differential.
Roach is trying to flank here from behind. Meanwhile, the Broodlords from the left trying to deal with this massive ground army from Flash, but Flash is pretty much essentially still maxed. 3 Thors in production, 4 Vikings in production, 5 throwing everything he has at this Terran death ball, but Flash is just too strong.
There's only a few Broodlords left. Of course, there's no SCVs repairing the Thors this time, so they are slowly falling. This is kind of, people talk about the infested Terran running on the Overlord as a turtle race. This is almost a turtle fight where neither side could really break through, but eventually Vibe is going to die. No more economy to back up and replace his army. And as you mentioned, even though Flash is losing units, he could replace them very, very, very quickly. So we're going to run a quick break.